Chapter 1. The Deadly Birthday Night. The night descended, starless. Everything was engulfed in an inky blackness, a thick darkness that swallowed all hope. The sky was shrouded in heavy black clouds, weighing down as if on the verge of collapse, pressing against the chest, creating an eerie suffocation, a suffocation that foreshadowed impending doom. In Nanthan, Delhi shone brilliantly, a dazzling kingdom of entertainment where the lights concealed countless dark secrets. In a luxurious private room, young men and women gathered in droves, their laughter and chatter filling the air. Most were wealthy heirs from the elite class, accustomed to a life of luxury, and many among them were young men still smitten, chasing after On Tuyet, revering her as their dream goddess. Today was her 22nd birthday. Her dear cousin had spared no effort in preparing this pre-graduation party, even personally helping her with exquisite makeup to enhance her natural beauty before the festivities began. Thanks to her cousin, On Tuyet became the center of attention at the party that night, a position she never imagined she would hold. On Tuyet could feel the intense gazes fixed on her face, some filled with admiration, others with approval, but not without sharp, envious stares. For some reason, her right eyelid twitched incessantly, a vague omen, an unsettling premonition creeping into her mind. Seeing her cousin occasionally glance at her with encouraging smiles, On Tuyet felt somewhat reassured. She smiled confidently, her smile still tinged with innocence, accepting vibrant bouquets and meaningful gifts from everyone, unaware that she stood on the edge of a bottomless abyss. On Tuyet looked at Gyai with gratitude, grasping her cousin's hand, the hand she believed would always protect her, and whispered, "Sister, I'm truly grateful for everything you've done for me today." Gyai lowered her head, smiling gently, a smile hiding a chilling coldness that On Tuyet could not detect. Then, gracefully, she stood, reaching for a glass of water on the table as if to drink. Suddenly, a piercing scream from Gyai shattered the silence. Before anyone could grasp what was happening, the water from the glass splashed across On Tuyet's face, a cold sensation spreading instantly, like a slap from the heavens. On Tuyet stood frozen, looking utterly pitiful, her eyes still dazed, clearly unable to process what had just occurred. Gyai turned and angrily scolded the waitress behind her, her voice laced with an indescribable satisfaction. "How clumsy can you be? Didn't you see me drinking? You bumped into me and nearly spilled it on my little sister." The remorseful waitress bowed her head, not daring to look up, becoming the scapegoat for a cruel charade. "It's okay, sister. Don't worry about it. Just give me a tissue." On Tuyet spoke softly to Gyai, her voice still innocent, unaware of the malice. Gyai feigned concern as she looked at On Tuyet, a triumphant glint flashing in her eyes. She took out a damp tissue and gently wiped On Tuyet's face, saying tenderly, Tuyet, let me wipe the water off for you." On Tuyet shyly glanced at those around her, then lowered her head and whispered to her cousin, still worried about her appearance, "Sister, is the water gone? Is my makeup still okay?" Gyai nodded slightly, her eyes flickering with a strange, calculating malice that On Tuyet could not perceive. When On Tuyet raised her head and smiled at the crowd again, her smile froze on her lips. She noticed them staring at her with peculiar expressions, shock, even horror. The atmosphere in the private room turned icy, as if a massive block of ice had crashed down, all eyes fixed on On Tuyet's face, their gazes like thousands of needles piercing her heart. Gyai brushed aside a strand of hair from On Tuyet's face, a gentle motion laced with utmost cruelty. A dark, ghastly scar became starkly visible, laid bare before everyone, under the dazzling lights. It appeared even more terrifying, like an open wound on her soul. The crowd began to murmur, gasps of shock erupting, shattering the space like broken glass. On Tuyet saw mouths, both male and female, agape in astonishment, forming O shapes, like black holes swallowing the last of her dignity. On Tuyet's heart seemed to stop, as if she had glimpsed a harsh truth, a pain too profound to name. She hurriedly lowered her head, her trembling right hand reaching to touch her cheek. The rough, uneven texture of the scar, a cruel mark of a buried pain, nearly brought her to her knees, as if the sky had collapsed onto her shoulders, crushing everything. Then she heard Gyai, the cousin she trusted, speak in a shrill voice, sharp as a blade cutting into her soul, dripping with malicious satisfaction. "Look, this is the real On Tuyet, the true face of your so-called goddess." Whispers tore through the air, like needles piercing her skin, stabbing into her soul. My God, so there's a huge scar on the right side of her face. This time we really misjudged her. We thought she was a goddess, but after the makeup comes off. So we've all been deceived. TCH, her makeup skills are impressive. So this is what she really looks like. On Tuyet's mind spun, reeling as if trapped in a nightmare. The cold mockery and harsh insults battered her ears, each word a bullet lodging deep in her heart. Gyai's scornful, triumphant smile, the smile of someone who had destroyed her life, proclaimed a brutal victory. Not a single person, not one, spoke up for her. All those gazes, bit by bit, turned to disgust and contempt, as if she were something filthy. They all thought her a liar from the start, an ugly duckling masquerading as a swan, deceitful and despicable. People pulled out their phones, their screens glowing like cold, electronic eyes, switching to video mode to capture this explosive horror, as if witnessing a spectacle for amusement, not the destruction of a person. Even the young men who once cherished her, who praised her beauty with flowery words, now looked at her as if she were a hideous monster, something dirty to be discarded immediately. And the mastermind of this cruel farce, the one who dragged her into the mire, was none other than her cousin, Gyai, the person she trusted completely. On Tuyet couldn't believe her eyes or ears, couldn't believe the betrayal came from someone so dear. She looked at Gyai, her voice hoarse and choked, a cry from the depths of despair. "Sister, you..." But Gyai's face showed no trace of remorse, only a cold, contemptuous smile, an unmatched cruelty. "You deceived everyone, and I'm just exposing your true face." Then, in an act of ultimate cruelty, like the final drop that overflowed the cup of pain, Gyai picked up a glass of red wine from the table and slowly poured it over On Tuyet's head. As she poured, she flashed a sinister smile, her mocking voice sharp as a blade. "Happy birthday." The cold red wine trickled down the scar on Tuyet's right cheek, like fresh blood seeping from an unhealed wound. It looked like a bleeding gash, utterly terrifying and painful, etching humiliation deep into her bones. The onlookers, still live streaming, typed malicious captions, vying to ridicule her. Namthan's university beauty, unmasked, looks no different from an ugly demon. The blinding flashes pierced her face, like knives stabbing her soul, relentlessly exposing her pain to the world. On Tuyet instinctively raised her hand to cover half her face, a feeble act of shame, but the bitter, humiliated tears kept falling, blurring the collapsing world around her. Among the crowd, a young man in a white shirt snorted coldly, glancing indifferently at On Tuyet, now slumped on the floor, before turning and leaving the room. Seeing the attitude of her dream prince, whom she admired, On Tuyet felt the world crumble in that moment. Grief slowly spread from the depths of her heart, her face pale as death, utterly terrifying. She grabbed her purse from the sofa and bolted through the wall of people. Just as she neared the door, someone tripped her, and she fell hard to the ground with a thud, pain dizzying her senses. Laughter and mockery erupted behind her, and no one stepped forward to help her up. Harsh insults echoed in her ears. Such a scheming ugly girl. Not even watching where she's going. Tears welled in her eyes. On Tuyet bit her lip in agony, struggling to crawl up from the ground, fleeing the room in disgrace. So, the cosmetics Yi used on her that afternoon weren't waterproof. So, the glass of water in Yi's hand was potent makeup remover. So, the tissue Yi used to wipe her face was a makeup removal pad. So, the birthday party Yi had painstakingly prepared was merely a plot to expose her true face. How much must Yi hate her to go to such lengths, lifting her to the heavens only to hurl her into the abyss, clutching the scar on her right cheek with one hand and her heart with the other. On Tuyet sobbed hysterically, running wildly into the night. In the early summer night, cold gusts blew through, but she felt a bone-chilling cold. Thunder rumbled ominously in the sky, and suddenly, rain poured down in torrents. On Tuyet, running frantically in the rain, was soon drenched. Liquid streamed down her face, tears or rainwater. She couldn't tell. In her chaotic state, she was oblivious to the danger closing in. Suddenly, a dark shadow loomed over her. A hand clamped over her mouth, another yanking her arm forcefully. When On Tuyet realized what was happening, she thrashed and screamed in terror. "Help! I'm being attacked! Someone save me!" But her arm was still gripped tightly by another man. This episode of our story concludes here. To follow the story from the flash wedding to sweet love, please visit the Sun Pink Audio channel to listen and support us.